So tonight, to give Ken Jacobs his proper due, I'd like to introduce a person whose avant-garde film class got me originally into this bracket as well at USC, but eminent scholar, teacher, and all-around really nice guy, David James.
You can tell from Adam's summary of avant-garde film events in Los Angeles, we're really privileged here in having so many occasions when master filmmakers appear with their work. Last week, David Lebrun presented his magisterial Breaking the Maya Code. As Adam indicates, next week Robert Beavers will be here. The week after that, Louis Clark is presenting new work in Los Angeles. And this kind of cornucopia is pretty standard for us. But I think tonight is an event of an entirely different order. Tonight we're privileged to welcome two people whose achievement stands as one of the greatest accomplishments, not just in the history of filmmaking, but in the history of all art, in the era when filmmaking, when cinema has been the most important of all arts. Flo and Ken Jacobs are together not just great masters, stylists in the way that we think of David Lebrun and Robert Beavers and Louis Clark as great filmmakers who've radically extended the expressive possibilities of the medium, but rather they have, over the past 50 years, entirely reconstructed the technological and psychic apparatus in which cinema can take place. That achievement has been simultaneously creative and critical. It's been creative in that they have innovated modes of experience that simply never existed before. And it's critical in that it has sustained a devastating, if often lonely, analysis of the way in which cinema has been used by capital for its own purposes. In an announcement to a class called Essential Filmmaking that Ken Jacobs taught in 1978, he proposed a distinction between two forms of cinema, one as a device of power and the other as an instrument of thought. The former, he argued, directed people not by prompting thought, hesitation, unpredictable individual response, but by stupefying them. In the latter, certain kinds of thinking for the first time become possible and realizable. Certain experiences unique to the capacity of cinema become available. His life's work, then, has been to create a cinematic thought in the midst of a cinema of stupefaction. This specific project also marks our great privilege here tonight in the middle of Hollywood in welcoming him and Flo to Filmforum. Ken.
Sitting way off to the side and the front. I'm not in good seats for stereo, either stereo sound or stereo vision. If it's at all possible, I would hope you know, two people on the end could find those seats.
This right here.
Yeah. Don't save any empty seats. Everybody sort of slide in as best as possible toward the middle.
So this is not. A 3D where people take flight and stuff like that. It's, I'm working with 1905 film. No one ever thought anyone in their right mind could put it into 3D, but that's what I've done. Okay. I think we'll talk afterwards, okay? And we can just go into it. Flo, where are you? Oh, is there anything I should tell people, warn people?
Yeah, what side does the red go on? Oh.
The red goes on the left. Thank you very much. Yeah. It's really very important. The red side goes on. And I spoke tonight about people knocking the wearing of these spectacles. Big deal. You know, what it enables is the separation of one picture to each eye. Okay, I can see you. One picture to each eye, and that's how we see 3D from a, on the screen is both images, and this separates them one to each eye. So it's wonderful. I love it.
So as you know, it's close to 2 hours. We'll have a Q&A at the end. Just to verify, no one's here for the other film, right? So we'll start. Thank you all for coming. Should we try to clamber in, or should we stand here in the corner?
It's okay.
All right. Please join me in welcoming once again Ken Jacob.
Thank you very much. You understand it wasn't perfect. Anybody wish to say something, ask something?
Or I'll start. Or if there are any questions to begin with from any of you, it can be about anything during the week.
I mean, it's more of a comment than a question, but I just, probably like a lot of people in this room, I've seen this little 10 minutes of film like hundreds of times in my life, not only because of the amount of times that you go into it in the original Tom Tom Piper Son, and the number of times that we've seen the original Tom Tom the Piper Son, but of course you keep returning to it. And I'm shocked that there's still things that I haven't seen in it. So I guess, in a way, actually, there's a quote from you in the interview you gave to Tom Gunning and David Schwartz, where you said that I've never exhausted a time bounded by just 2 frames. And I guess this is a quite literal illustration of that.
Right.
That every recorded moment is sort of infinite.
That's it. You've heard it. Everything now is addenda. Okay, I'm so sorry you didn't see these figures. Stand up, please stand up. They're like this. They're. Thank you. Oh gosh. So I don't understand this. There's something at odds with the colors of the spectacles and the colors.
There was a flaw in the ideology. Is that what? There was a flaw in the ideology.
That's it. You got it.
Okay.
So if anybody doesn't know it, 1968, 69, I got caught up with the original 1905 Tom Tom the Piper Son, and I've been making a living from it ever since. Before this film, which I hope is the last one, there was Return to the Scene of the Crime, another feature which I also did in, I think, 2008 or maybe 2007. And that doesn't use the spectacles. And this one was, how crazy could we go? I mean, what was further? And this seemed to be it. Maybe this is the last one, I don't know. Maybe.
When the 3D does work, is it working because for example, the background is not moving at all, things that are moving faster are more separated, and therefore, rather than foreground being thrown into foreground, whatever is moving fastest is thrown into a different plane?
Okay, some of that's happening. The very end was odd because it was actually working. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And you could actually see like the figure of Tom, hung in space. Some other things. But what's happening over here is I'm using. Okay, there isn't an original left eye, right eye. Perspectives to make it in 3D. But what there is motion. Ray, you said something before about motion and 3D, okay? You got it, okay? It's 2 frames where the figures have moved, and the 2 positions are being fused to make a third-dimensional figure, which you didn't see very much of over here. I really am so sorry. But it's making use of time and making time into depth, So
So
The
you find
figures
that
here and there, and those are combined, and they become a three-dimensional figure, separate from the painted background. The background is always a flat painted background, you know, and the figures really stand out.
you find that the very fastest moving things come further into the foreground?
No, it just has to. You know, there's a section where they're going up the ladder, and the figures that are coming towards the ladder. I mean, they're so deep. You know, so, I mean, the woman's arm is stretched out crazily. Okay? It's really distorted. It's so far out in space, which you couldn't see today. I'm just sorry.
So down at the,
Do you wear the 3D spectacles throughout the whole process of working on film?
Yes. Yeah. I worked with the computer and using the spectacles. Yeah. You know, because it's really felt out. You know, what's possible. You know, what's possible over here. You have to see it. It isn't like a theory and then following through in the theory. You know, it is the concept. What is this? As a sensory work, does this work from moment to moment? You know, what part of it works, what part doesn't work. So all the figures in the beginning, they're it's like some some funny kind of they're people and they're puppets, you know, on a stage.
are there any kinds of any kinds of 3D that you know of that you haven't worked with yet?
Oh yes, lots. 3D is, my God, it's so far to go. I mean, I look at the amazing movies that are being made. We saw Coraline. It was this, you know, it was a fake story, which I resented. I could feel it was being taken from this story and that story and the other story. It wasn't a genuine story, and I had a hard time with that. But the 3D is fantastic. Okay, but I'm not after that kind of 3D. I'm after this this much more tense play between 2D and 3D, and things not fitting, things fitting. Okay, so I'm not interested in the full illusion of a 3D world. That's not my. That's not what I'm about.
But you've been, yeah, I recognize that, but you've been examining that tension using a variety of different methods of 3D methodology.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to which do you find work best for you, or why are you working? Have you worked your way through them in a particular order? Has there been any
Order,
sense to it? Yes.
logic.
Logically. Well, so earlier this week we had the Magic Lantern, which was one image and various lenses in the paddle. We've previously had Nervous System shows, which was 2 different projectors with a short film strip and also with the paddle. There was the gray, you've told me already before the show and I've forgotten already.
The Pulfric filter.
The Pulfric filter, which was great.
It's an amazing thing where you block up part of the light going to one eye, and because you're getting a darker image, it takes longer for the brain to process it. Okay, one watches with a filter over one eye. Okay, movement is happening. The image that is coming through the unblocked eye is seeing the immediate present. The image is coming to the viewer from when the eye is looking through this dark but not completely obscure, opaque filter. It's a dark image. It's retarded in time. So one ends up seeing the present image and the image that was there a moment before. You're seeing 2 perspectives then, if there's movement taking place, and it really is a 3D image. It's amazing. And this was discovered by Carl Pulfric in 1926, a man who lost one eye in the First World War.